Maybe. Okay, we can start, I think. Welcome, everyone. It's so good to see you here again. We appreciate that you are also willing to bring happiness to construction industry. Before we start, I want to tell a bit about our think tank group, Agile Construction TR and Happy Construction Events. The platform Agile Construction TR has been founded in 2017 and has developed the first agile management experiences in Turkey with a main contractor, a facade works contractor, and a design company to show the benefits of agile management approaches in different phases and types of the companies in the industry. Since then, we have been writing blogs, organizing meetups, webinars, trainings, discussion sessions, and etc. We are seeking for happiness for all stakeholders of the industry, from idea phase to operation and demolition. Happy Construction Events are our recent event series, organized once a month, probably on the last Wednesday evening, just like now, at 20 o'clock of Istanbul time zone. At these events, our colleagues are sharing their experiences and practices of agility and other practices of happiness. You can follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram for the next events and activities. And you can also join us to develop other projects for happiness of the industry. Please feel free to share your questions at the chat board to be responded at the end. Now it's time to start our fourth Happy Construction event. Today we are welcoming Felice Pescatore. Felice Pescatore, benvenuti Felici eventi di costruzione. Is it right? Would you please introduce yourself and tell us how Agile approaches enhance working with BIM tools?
Thank you everyone. Thank you for the great opportunity to be here this evening, because we have something like 2 hours of time clock difference between Italy and you. So just few words about me, because typically during this my webinar, I don't want to speak a lot about me, because it's not so important. Really, it's important to be focused, to have the focus on the topic of the discussion. So my name is Felice Pescatore, good pronounce, yes, and you're right, Felice means happy in English. And I am a software engineer with an MBA in business administration, and since 15 years ago, I'm totally involved on Agile, Lean, and change management inside the different type of companies, not only related to software environment, but also related to medical devices, construction in the past 2 years, automotive, and so on. My mission is to support these different type of companies to identify what for they means really agility. What is the agility concept for them? That for me it's very, very simple. Help them to find a better way to work, a better way of working. It's not adopting a framework, it's not adopting a methodology, it's not to be the champion of Scrum or another type of agile framework. The real power of all of these movement, all of these different type of thinking is to find the right way for the different companies to achieve awesome goals and to satisfy, to delight their customers. This is very important. In the past 2 years, in the middle of pandemic situation, I found a way to experiment different concepts of the agile world, agile lean, inside the construction world. And I will tell these stories to you today, this evening, sorry. And starting from what are the concepts of all of these activities, and what are our initial assumptions, and what we discovered on the field when we apply really all of these in one Italian construction company. So let me share my screen. Okay. Give me a feedback. Can you see my presentation?
It's okay.
Okay, so let's start with the slides. So just to be very, very simple, what can you see the second slide, just to be sure? Yeah.
Yes,
yes. Okay, what is Agile? Agile, it's sometimes is a buzzword. This is actually the problem. So every one of us have a different vision about the word Agile, agility, and so on. But Agile is not a framework, is not a practices, it's not a collection of practices, or not only this. Agile is, first of all, a mindset. This is very, very important because it's a mindset in which people are the most important things. This is very, very central for our discussion because we don't must think about Agile. Okay, I need to learn a process. I learned to learn a methodology. No, I need to work better together to create value because actually complex world needs to work not alone, but together with our colleague to achieve better results, greater results, because the actual world is very, very complex if we think about the product and services that we had half century ago, because everything is changed and everything will change very, very faster in the future. So we need to learn how to collaborate. And it's an empirical approach. It's an empirical mindset, if you want, based on 3 pillars: adaptation, transparency, and inspection. A lot of you, if you heard it before, inspect and adapt is something like a mantra of the Agile world. This is very important because, yes, we need to have an idea, we need to image a plan, we need to image, to do something in what we think is the correct way, but we need to be ready to change our hypothesis in relation to what we will discover on the field. This is very, very important. And the idea here is to have the same approach for the construction world, and specifically linking this mindset with the BEAM methodology, BEAM approach. I know the M inside BEAM is not a lot of time different people give to the M a different meaning. For example, management, for example, modeling, models, and so on. But here the focus is to think about BEAM like a way to cooperate, collaborate between different actors inside the construction world. And our goals are listed here. Delight customer. We need to think all our activities in relation to create value for our customers, to delight our customer. Why delight is so important? Because we don't need only to, our goal is more than satisfy our customer, but it's going forward, it's going more than satisfy than thinking and create a partnership with our customer to discover with him or her what are their expectations about our works. Better quality, better communication, reduce the ping pong effect. Okay, no, I think something, no, I tell you something different, no, please, you don't understood me. No, this is a very, very bad situation. We need to remove that. We need to find a way to create a flow for the communication, for the information between us and our partner. And what we did is was to merge Agile practices, Agile goals with BEAM heart practices, and we create what we call it Agile BIM. So at the heart of the BIM approach, you can find the idea of collaboration, multidisciplinary team. You can find the idea that different type of specialists must work together to achieve the result. And this is also at the heart of Agile, because we need different type of specialists to create something complex. And Agile BIM can help you during, for example, the execution plan of the BIM to support the definition of the project information, the process, the deliverable, the scope. And the idea here is not to remove these elements, because you need these elements. You cannot remove these elements, but to create value around these elements, because your focus must be not on the output, but must be on the outcome. For example, when you create documentation for your project, okay, you must respect the local or international regulation. That's true. But also you must be sure that what you are doing are really creating value for your customer, not just doing something because someone for you create a template and you must follow this template without any idea of why you're doing that. Is not correct, is not helpful for you, and is just a waste. We must reduce waste. And we must create a way to collect a lot of feedbacks, fast feedbacks. This is very important, because only with fast feedbacks we can be confident that our idea, our work are really aligned with the expectation of our customer. So Agile BIM, like Agile, sure, it's first of all a mindset, and this is very important. So we have a philosophy, a principle, practices, and different declination of these, because Agile BIM is one of these. Why this scheme is so important? Because we must remember every time that we need to create the right collaboration environment. Practices can change depending on the context, but we must create a psychological safety environment in which we can, okay, we can fail sometimes because we are engaged in a so big projects, in a so complex project. So this is very important, because no one of us can be sure that no one of us is perfect. So we must experiment a lot of time, find different solutions to the problem. And when we are searching for something different, typically, sometimes we fail, but fail is the basis of the learning. Without failure, without failing, we cannot learn more. So this is very important. And we can create a way to communicate with our customer, between us. We needed to, for example, we needed to be sure that we can have a continuous improvement approach. This is very important, in which, okay, we are very good to do that, but we can improve ourselves every time. So for every project during our daily work, we needed to experiment a little bit more to be more efficiency, to have more, to experiment something new, because I repeat that the world is changing faster than in the past. So we needed to be aligned with that. And we have 10 principles and 3 main practices. Focus on value stream. So we needed to think that it's not so important to optimize the local work. What is very, very important is to have the full stream of work optimized, because the only moment in which we create a real value is when our customer can use our construction, can use our product, not, for example, when we create the draft of the blueprint. So we need to optimize all the flow inside our activities. We need to have actionable metrics because we need to measure our improvement, our progress. Without the metrics, there are no progresses, there are no improvements. Or better, we cannot prove that what we think that we achieve is a really an improvement because it's an assumption coming from us. But we must be objective on that. Discussion and collaboration, we need to discuss every time we have the opportunity, we must have direct conversation between us as like a team, with our customer, and so on. We need to have the ownership of the activities. This is a switch between the traditional way to manage a project. We don't have the head of the project, like one person that assigns us the activities, but we will have a pool of activities and we can select what we will do in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We will discuss about this soon. Continuous experimentation, inspect and adapt is very important because we need to prove our idea as soon as possible. Have a visual management environment to monitor, to follow, to discover our progress. You can use, for example, here a BIM platform, or for example, a simple Kanban tool. You can find a lot of Kanban tool on internet. You can select what is better for you. And you must be able to have a self-organizing and a multidisciplinary team. This is very important. No one can tell you in a direct way how you must work like a team. But you must agree on the basic rules. And after this, you must evolve in relation to the context, to your experience, to the specific project, and so on. Based on this principle, you have 3 main practices. Fluid thinking, that means have practices that you can adapt in relation to the specific context. A common environment used for share all the information, all the artifacts, and so on. The most common here will be the CDA of the BIM, because we are in the BIM environment. And extreme building, construct or create the construction like a puzzle, so you can measure the progress in a very actionable way. Because it's very important, be agile and do agile. This is very important because you must become an agile team, an agile company, but for achieve this result, you must also experiment agile practices and implement agile principle. So this is the Agile BIM poster. Here, this is the results of our experimentation on the field. You can see here on the ellipse, you can see the 4 stages of the CDA: archived, work in progress, shared, and published. At the center of the ellipse, you can see the 5 meta phases: concept design, development design, technical design, transition, and construction, plus the inception phase used to align all the team, all the company people in relation to the project value and the related risks and opportunities. Also, you will support the work with what we call the fluid process and with the meta goals. We will discover very fast these elements. All the works are made by what we call the Agile BIM meta teams. And the meta here stays for something like an abstract representation of the team or of the goals and so on, because it depends a lot of the context. You have 6 phases, 5+1. The first one is the inception, because during the inception, you will work to understand what really is behind your project. The concept design is the first phases to create the first draft of the blueprint. The developed design support you in create the final blueprint, technical design, the transition, and the construction is when you really build your construction on the field. Okay, a lot of you know these phases because are the international phases. Depends on of the regulatory law in your country. For example, this is a lot of common here in Italy and in different country in Europe. In your country can be a little bit different, but I think you can identify your daily work on this. And what is the development cycle? You start with inception, you pass to the realization phase and the subphase design and construction. And when you complete the realization of the building, you pass to the facility activities. Please take a look about the arrow, because this is not linear, because every time you must, you must go back to review your assumption and use what you learn during your work to improve the project value and your approach to the way of working. This is the idea about the meta teams. At the heart of our activities, you find the customer, and you will have 2 different meta teams, design team and the construction team. Okay, I'm sure that you know what is a BIM coordinator, BIM specialist better than me. I will just focus myself on the Agile project manager and the Agile BIM coach, the 2 figures that you can see in the middle at the bottom of this image. Just because Agile project manager is not a so good definition, because you will have a project manager that can use adaptive approach, but it's something like can help us to identify that this is a project manager with a different approach than traditional project manager, in which he or her will support the team activities, selecting the better practices, predictive or adaptative. Adaptative means agile, just to simplify, and the predictive means waterfall, to support the specific project and the specific team, and have a mindset inspired to management 3.0. And the Agile BIM coach, it's a total different role in which a person will support the team, the meta team, during his daily work to learn how to use the fluid process that you can see here, inspired to Scrum and Kanban. This fluid process can be used during the design and during the construction. Sure, you cannot apply it in the same way, but you can inspire the work on the site building or during the design to this approach. The final element of the of Agile BIM is the meta goal. The meta goal is a collection of common activities that you can use to plan your work. Sorry, here you see in the right the Italian version. I forgot to change it with the English one, but this schema on the right is in Italian. Sorry, but here the idea is to have a mind map to suggest to the team the common activities in the specific phase of the progress of the work. And you can use the Agile BIM tools. For example, here you can see different type of Kanban boards that can support you to visualize your work during the different phases. Okay, I hope that we will have more and more time in future to discuss about the details, but now it's time to go to present to you the case study, because I think it's very, very important to show you how to apply all of these in your project or in your daily work. So this is the company in which we experiment the information you see before. This is an Italian company, and we started really this company have more than one project, a lot of projects. So we create first of all a portfolio board. Why this was so important? Because with the portfolio board, all the project manager, all the people inside the company can see what is the actual progress for every project and identify if there are some type of problems, some blocked situations, and so on. So this is a way to manage the portfolio of projects that actually are ongoing inside our company, and also support the company to decide if there is the capacity to accept new projects, or if we need to delay new project, or if you need to switch between project to follow more valuable project. This is very important because typically what we discovered in construction companies that every project are the most important when it arrives. And every time the manager don't know how to use the no word, how they can refuse a request. And this was a very, this is a very problem, because you have not infinite people that work for you, but your capacity are finite. So you cannot accept all the work, and you must manage priority. This is a way to manage the priority for the project. We started every new project with the project canvas. Here you can see this is a specific declination of the business model canvas created and refined for the construction environment. And it's the first tools and the first activity that we did for every new project in this experimentation. So we can identify authorities, contractors, people, goals, tools, delivery, artifacts, legal problem, constraints, and so on. This is a way to align all the people involved on a project with the complexity of the specific initiative, and highlight what type of impediments, opportunity must be our first focus to go forward with our initiative. Okay, let's check how the fluid process works. So typically the fluid process work on iteration. Iteration is a set of, is typically 2 weeks long. So one iteration is typically 10 days work. And a team that follow a project will use the board, the design board. You can see in the right the template that we created, and you can download it from the site. On the left, you can see a representation of it. So you will have a typical, this is very, very similar to a typical Kanban board. At the end of the project and during the project manager will fill the project inventory column with all the activities and deliverables that you will you must complete during the project life. And when you will do the first event of the fluid process, so the iteration planning, you like team, so all the team members will select the activities that they will complete, or they hope that they can complete during the starting iteration, and put these activities inside the to-do column. So you will do this during the iteration planning, a meeting of a few hours typically, in which you will discuss about these activities. You will ask the project manager to support you in better understand them, to collect more information, and you will decide, like team, not the project manager, if you really will be able to complete it during the starting iteration. After this, during the daily work, you will pick up one of our activities from the to-do column and put them in the doing column. This means, this communicate that you are working on these activities, and you can manage also the workload of your actual activities, because in this way, if you add, for example, the work in progress limit upside the column, simple a number of the maximum activities that can be active in one column, you can limit the number of multi-concurrency activity that you are working on. So this is very important, because that give you the chance to be focused on just on one or two activities for person, and don't be too much, how can I say, over allocated for the work. This is very important. When you complete during the daily work, you will have every day a daily meeting, just 10-15 minutes, to align yourself with the other team members. So this is very important, because during the daily meeting you can highlight what are the actual problems, if you have any type of problems, and ask help to your colleague to resolve them. Or you can ask to the Agile Bean coach to support you to resolve them. For example, if you have a problem outside the team, for example, you haven't information about, I don't know, one part of the project, you must have a meeting with the stakeholder and so on, with the client and so on, you can ask the project manager or the Agile Bean coach to support you in resolve this issue. If you complete something, an activities, and elaborate during your work, and you must wait for external contribute, you can move the activities to the waiting column. This is true also if you have some type of problem that blocked you to finish it. And if an activities go in the waiting column, these activities become the first that must be attentioned by your project manager, by the team, because you must unblock it soon as possible. Because remember, our goal is to have a flow, a continuous flow of elaborate activity to complete soon as possible our work and reduce the waste inside this flow. Okay, at the end of the fluid process, at the end of the iteration, remember the iteration is 2 weeks long, typically. You can also have iteration of 1 week. You will put all the completed activities in the done column. And you will have 2 final events. The review, in which you will discuss what you achieved during the iteration, what you have completed during the iteration, the quality of this, and what is not completed. So you can think how to resolve the issue you found in relation to the activities, and replan them for the next iteration if it makes sense to complete it in the next iteration. After this, you will have the retrospective. The retrospective is a moment for the team to discuss about the process, about how the team works in agile manner, in agile BIM manner, and identify few improvement actions to improve their way of working. And you will restart the loop, so this one, with the next iteration, and so on. So this approach is very interesting because you can improve your predictability, because every week, every 2 weeks with this approach, you can have a measure about what your customer will receive from you at the end of any iteration, and what you can also plan. You can also have a metric of time. For example, if you have the velocity, if you can count how many activities typically you do during the iteration, and you have the total activities, you can have a metrics to identify how many iterations you need to complete all the activities, and you can have a data for your project. Yes, I understand. It sounds too much simple. Yes, because it's the reality is it's more complex. But you can create your agile way of working with this without any alchemic data. Any I don't know. Okay, what will be the time to complete this project? Oh, I don't know, the past project. Oh, my experience. No, you have an iteration. You can use your actual progress to realign the final date of the project with your real progress. And this is very important because, for example, if you have 100 activities to complete in your project and you are at the half of your time, but you completed just the 20% of your activities, it's impossible that you will complete in time your project, because you used the 50% of your time, but you completed only the 20% of your project. So something doesn't match. So you need to identify the right response to this problem at the right time to achieve what you really can with your team and in relation with the complexity of your project. And this is very important, because without this, you will arrive at the end of the time with a lot of things to do, with a lot, you will be hungry, you will be stressed, you will made a lot of mistake, because everyone in the company will ask you, okay, you must be faster, you must be faster, you must be faster, but you cannot do this at the end of the project. You must be sure that you have a more step-by-step identification of what you really can do in the time that you imagine it's needed to complete the project. Okay, just to conclude this presentation, okay, something about me is not so important, but you can find different information on me on LinkedIn. If you want, you can connect with me and we can discuss more about the Agile BIM or other Agile thoughts. And more important, you can download from this site, agileconstellation.info, the essential book of Agile BIM. It's also in English, if I correctly remember, yes, on which you can find a little bit more details about what we discussed before. So I completed this fast presentation. I hope that I'm in time and we will have time to questions and discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Felipe. Felice. Last time Felipe was here, so thank you very much for your presentation and the resources you have presented. People think that BIM is enough for collaboration. I want to mention that it's a tool. it's a good medium to collaborate, but collaboration is a mindset that comes from agility, team-oriented, focusing on a goal comes from agile mindset. So I think it's very important to combine agile and BIM together to enhance, to get the greatest value of both. So thank you. I think it's very important for us. We can receive questions from chat board if you want. You can ask, or actually we are not so crowded. You can tell. Tolga wants to ask something. Tolga.
Thank you. Felice, wonderful presentation. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I find project canvas very important for the success of the project, actually. My question is, do you use any software for construction canvas?
Typically, I use Miro.
Miro. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Or if you prefer, also Mural. You can use also Mural, but you need a virtual space to put sticky notes, to draw something. My suggestion to you is to have something like Miro, so a virtual space. Use a great tablet to draw. I use my iPad to draw, because without a tablet, or without what is the other tools, but without a way to draw with your hand, it's impossible to communicate in the right way. And nothing. This is the better solution from my side. This board, this canvas, when we experiment this, we have the Miro version of this, because we totally experiment all of these through Miro and with the Trello for the board. We are also working, try to work with the Akka software to integrate a common board inside their BIM platform. But we stopped these activities 1 year ago, so I don't know if they go forward with this initiative. But you can use Miro and Trello. Or if you prefer, you can use also Planner inside the Microsoft 365. It's very similar to Planner, to Trello, but you need Miro or Mural to do that.
Thank you very much. Most kind of you.
Actually, besides the digital tool, the canvas is great. As far as I read the topics, we can visualize all the important things on the board here.
Yeah, these are important things, because when I started working with the first construction team, because I repeat, I'm a software engineer, so I came from a different world. What I discovered, and it was crazy for me, is that everyone started looking at their part of the work. There is no shared vision of the project, but everyone, for example, the electrical engineer think about the electrical part, the architect think about the architectural vision, but there is not an integrated vision of all the project. And this tool is to support the team to have the same vision about the project. And also, let me check if I can share it to you. Another important tool, in my opinion, here, the first on the right, the rule canvas, you can see here on the right, it is a canvas to be clear about the rule and the activities. Sorry, also this is in English. I will send you the translated version in English. This is in Italian. Also, the Agile BIM rule canvas is very important to create a synergy between people inside the team, because a lot of time when I start a new project, I don't know my colleague. I don't know who he is or what is his engagement, what is his capacity, and so on. So it's a very, very important tool to make a team building activities to create the team.
Mm-hmm. People may still live in silos, although they use BIM, but they can still do the work in silos with no trust and no transparency. Though the tool enhances it, but if you don't have the mindset, you can still hide everything, and you can still be self-defensive. If still there's a blame game, you can still be defensive. So team building is very important.
That's totally true, because if you have only silos, you cannot be fast, because you will have all the architect silos, the civil engineer silos, the electrical specialist silos. This is very, very crazy, because if you think about the BIM, the first stage is the shared area. And in the shared area, okay, you will work like a team, because you need to merge all the different aspects of a building, for example, before you can receive any feedback from the customer. It's not important to complete only the architectural part, the civil part, the infrastructural part. The main goal is to have an incremental approach, iterative and incremental approach, in which you can discuss with your customer, and you can ask to him or her question like, okay, please, this is the first draft. Here you can see the architectural idea. Here you can see I don't know, the electrical part, the stairs. What is your idea about that? You cannot give any feedback if you present only the box or only the cable situation inside your building. It's not the idea of BIM. The idea of BIM is to have work in progress activities in which you will develop more and more and more and more detailed digital twin of your future build, and have a discussion with all the stakeholders, but specifically with the customer, to give feedback and to be sure that your design is really in line with the expectation of your customer. And you need to collaborate to do that in the right way. Mm-hmm. There is not, I don't know if you can do it in another way, because my experience is very agile related, but I think the agile way is the better way.
In classical approach, design approach, the architect draws the architectural part, and the engineering staff starts to create solution for the architecture, for the predefined architecture. But I think in agile mindset, all engineers and the architects should come together before you create the architecture. You create the pre-design, the first design, and you can create the best solution for all parties and for the customer first, I think. I want to ask if your team, the team you have worked with, was under one contract, under one company, all design specialists, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers. Were they different companies, or were they from the same company?
No, they was part of the same company. Different skills, different type of engineer and architect, but part of the same company.
I think it's a chance, because when they are from different companies, then they will have different profit aims. Yeah. It is much harder to collaborate. Then, because every contract triggers the blame game.
Yeah.
That is your fault, that is my fault. If I do that for you, what will be my profit or time? How much time will I spend for you? It's a critical thing, I think.
Yeah, it's true. It's true also, for example, for software. When you have too much, when you are too much dependency on outsourcing, for example, every part of the, every worker, every group are trying to maximize their profit. But here the challenge is to, okay, guys, you come from company A, B, C, D, but we will have a success together, not alone. And you can also rethink your contract, the way in which you write your contract. Because, for example, in the product management, we are working on that because, okay, part of your profit are related to your work, but the other part is related to the success of all the work group of the project, not only yours. So this is a way to promote the collaboration and reduce the blame between the different people engaged on the project.
Actually, I hear that from the same thing at Foresight from a friend in America, a guy working with BIM or other lean tools. He mentioned the same thing. For collaboration, we hold the some of the profit to the end of the project, and we achieve the when we achieve the goal overall, then we give the end part of the profit. That's great, because if the project is unsuccessful, then there is no means of being successful for the parties. That's great. We can have questions. Is there any other questions or addings or anything else? We have some guests whom we see for the first time.
I would like to ask a question if it's possible.
Okay.
I also find team building activities very beneficial. Felice, do you make team building activities with your clients before you start the project? Because you can be only successful when you are team with your client also. This is my question, actually. Do you use team building activities with your clients?
Yeah, every time. When you start with a new client, you must be sure that they are ready to go in agile direction. So you need to have before a learning path for them, and you must create, if there are not team, you must create the teams, and you must work to the teams with the building activities, team building activities, to be sure that there is sociality, synergy between the team members. Okay, it's not so long, because it's not a waterfall. you don't spend 2 months to do that, but you must be sure that there is empathy between the team members. This is very important. And if you have a good coach that supports you, it's more simple to have to capture the right signal for that.
And you give agile mindsets educations also to your clients before you start the project.
Yeah, it's very important.
Thank you.
Emel is raising hand. Emel?
Yes, first of all, thank you for the great presentation and mentioning some important points. As a software engineering, I am wondering that you are a software engineer, and Agility was born in IT industry, and as construction industry, we are trying to adopt this. And you mentioned that some points surprise you. I want to ask, what are the points that construction industry needs to adopt in order to achieve true agility? For example, you mentioned silos in the construction industry. What are the other things that you surprised of? I want to ask that.
Oh, that's a good point. So The problem in the construction, like other physical production environment, I don't know, for example, medical device, is that software, software is immaterial, is not material. There is no tangible product. It's all virtual, if you want, are all bits. And it's very, very difficult to experiment, to have the opportunity to fail, because you need to have phases inside the construction world, because you can fail during the design, but it's very, very impossible to fail during the build of a building or a bridge or so on, because it was a disaster. So in my opinion, in the construction field, the next years will be very important if the digital technologies will be adopted in a more pervasive way. For example, in one of these companies, we experimented the use of the Microsoft HoloLens, the virtual cap, to create a mixed reality about, for example, a building. So on these, we can create a real representation of the 3D digital twin that you can create with, I don't know, with Autodesk or with other tools, in which way you can have people that really interact with the building and have a real experience on that, because it's very different. In software, you can deliver or better deploy a solution, you can deliver it to a final user, and you can collect feedback. In construction, this is not possible, actually. So in my opinion, for construction, for automotive, for medical devices, it will be very, very important to use these new technologies to reduce the time to collect feedback, because for me it's very important to have feedback. Also, in construction field you will have a lot of bureaucracy, and this is a very big problem. But different type of bureaucracy are not. You must challenge with them, because, for example, local bureaucracy, citizen bureaucracy, government bureaucracy, you cannot remove them. So the very challenge will be to have the right dimension between what you need, what you must create for bureaucracy, and what you must create to be sure that your quality and that the quality of your building, your construction, and the expectation of your customer can be satisfied.
Okay, thank you for the great answer. It was a really important point. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you all. I think we can close the session now. Thank you, Felice.
You're welcome.
It was a great presentation. I think it's very important to start agility, agile approaches in design phase, first in design phase, and it will reflect on the construction area, and to design the best solution, to create the best solution for the customer is very important, because to change it is so hard when you start construction. It's the best time to create the solution. So it's very valuable to use agile approaches in design phase. Thank you very much for your presentation. Last addings maybe, and that I say goodbye to all, and your last addings.
Thank you to all. Have a nice evening.
Okay.
Have a nice evening. Thank you.
Have a Felice evening. Okay.
Yeah. Great session.
Okay.
Ciao.
Bye.
Okay. Ciao a tutti. Bye. See you soon.